So here are some interesting tax changes for 2023 that you should know about when you file your tax return for 2023. Well, first of all, the FHSA, the First Home Savings Account, was made available starting April 1st, 2023. So if you did open an account in 2023, then you will get a tax slip for your contribution if you did make a contribution. And here's what the tax slip will most likely look like. So this is the T4 FHSA. You will get it from your institution wherever you opened your FHSA with, either the bank or online brokers like Questrade, or I don't think Interactive Brokers has one, but definitely Questrade has one. And yeah, that's what it's going to look like. If you made contributions, it'll be box 18. If you withdrew to actually to buy a property for your and use the withdrawal as your down payment for your first property, then it'll be box 20 and so on. But you should be expecting this slip from your institution around end of February. And if you live in Quebec, if you're a Quebec resident, you will get the corresponding FHSA slip, which will be the RL32. Also, in 2023, a new credit is now available, the multi-generational home renovation tax credit. So if you renovated your house, if you added an additional unit to accommodate a relative who is either a senior or either if under 65 but over 18 has a disability, then you can get this credit. And actually, there's more details about the eligibility. If you Google the name of this credit in CRA, you'll find more details on this credit. But it's basically a refundable credit. So if you watched my video on reading your tax return, a refundable credit, you don't need to have paid taxes throughout the year to get this refund. You don't need to have had an income either. So you can get this credit without having an income and without having paid taxes throughout the year. So the value of this credit is 15% of the lesser of qualifying expenditures and 50,000. So if you have 40,000 or 30,000 of expenses, you'll get a credit of 15% as a refund right away. You don't have to have paid taxes to get that credit. If you have $70,000 of expenses, then it's a maximum of 50,000 that qualifies, and then you get 15% of 15,000. So basically, the max credit you can get is 0.15 times 50,000. So a $7,500 credit. If you do end up making, if you qualify for this credit, if you have expenses for adding an additional unit in your property to accommodate a relative that is either senior or um, disabled, if not a senior. But as great as it sounds, you can only make this claim once. So only one qualifying renovation is permitted during the lifetime of a qualifying individual. What is a qualifying individual? A qualifying individual is an individual who is 65 years of age or older before the end of the renovation period taxation year, or 18 years of age or older before the end of the renovation period taxation year, for whom an amount is deductible under the disability tax credit. So if we reread this credit, it's a refundable credit for qualifying expenditures for a qualifying renovation. So as you can see, there's a lot of keywords here. Qualifying comes often. So a qualifying renovation is one that creates a secondary unit within the dwelling that will be occupied by the qualifying individual. So what is a qualifying individual or a qualifying relation? So we saw what a qualifying individual was. Let's look at what a qualifying relation is. A qualifying relation of a qualifying individual for renovation period taxation year means an individual who is at least 18 years of age by the end of the year, and at any time in the year, a parent, grandparent, child, grandchild, brother, sister, aunt, and so on, of the qualifying individual or the qualifying individual's cohabiting spouse. So basically, just to keep it simple, if my mom is over 65, I have a house, I want her to come live with me. If I make renovations, for example, so that she has access to the basement, for example, a separate door that gives her direct access to the basement, so she can live in the same house but sort of separated, then these expenses would qualify. So what is a secondary unit? So it's a self-contained housing unit with a private entrance, kitchen, bathroom facilities, and sleeping area. So it could be newly constructed or created from an existing living space that did not already meet local requirements to be considered a second dwelling unit. And obviously the renovation period, for the purposes of this credit, the renovation period for a qualifying renovation of an eligible dwelling begins at the time that the first qualifying expenditure is made or incurred in respect of the qualifying renovation and ends at the time of the completion of the qualifying renovation. So the renovation period taxation year is the taxation year in which the renovation period ends. Therefore, if the renovation period ends on May 3rd, 2024, so you can only claim this credit in tax year 2024 and not tax year 2023. So in order to get this credit in 2023, the renovation has to end in on December 30 before December 31st, 2023. So actually, CRA has a good tool for you to find out if you are eligible. So if you go on this link here, so if you go to Google, just type in the name of the credit and the second link over here. If you click on it, then click on who can claim, and you can easily just go through these questions, and you'll be able to confirm whether you're eligible for this credit or not. But that is a new credit for 2023. Another new, well, this is not a credit, but another new rule for 2023 that you should consider for your 2023 tax return is the property flipping rule. So if you ended up buying and selling a property in less than 12 months, it will not be considered a capital gain. So you cannot, and you can, it will not even fall under the principal residence exemption, and it will be considered a business income. It'll be taxed as business income. So as long as it's less than 12 months, you bought and sold in less than 12 months, then it's considered business income. But there are exceptions, but even the exception would make you fall under the capital gain. So these are the exceptions. If you have one of these exceptions, then you might be able to claim the if there is a profit as a capital gain instead of a business income. So death of a taxpayer, related person joining the taxpayer's household, or a taxpayer joining a related person's household, the breakdown of a marriage, a threat to the personal safety of the taxpayer, the insolvency of the taxpayer, and so on. Now this is annoying. If you incurred a loss from selling a property in less than 12 months, you can't claim that loss as a business loss, but it ends up being a zero. So that's not fair. Now the work from home credit for due to COVID is eliminated for 2023, so you will no longer be able to claim the $2 per day, a maximum $500 deduction for working from home due to COVID in 2023. So you won't even be able to use the flat rate method or even the detailed method. But your only option is if you did work from home, your employer must have given you a T2200. So you need to have received this form from your employer if you want to claim home office expenses. Now, in that case, it won't be a $2 per day, it'll be the actual expenses for your home office. A percentage is of the square footage that's actually used for your home office. Another new change is the Advanced Canada Workers Benefit. They will now be sent automatically. You don't need to apply to receive advance payments. CRA will determine your eligibility when you file your income tax return, and they will send it to you automatically. Now, the famous Ontario staycation credit that we had in 2022 is no longer available in 2023. It has been canceled. So it looks like all the COVID-19 benefits are going away. Also, the Seniors Home Safety Tax Credit has been eliminated as well for 2023. Now, you can still claim a similar credit federally, but the Ontario credit, the provincial credit, is no longer available. For Quebec, the tax credit for seniors' activities has been eliminated. It wasn't a big deal. It was a refundable credit of up to a maximum of $40. Another change for Revenue Quebec or Quebec residents is the tax brackets. The first 49,000, instead of being taxed at 15%, is now going to be taxed at 14%. And then the bracket above it, 49,000 to 98,000, instead of being taxed at 20%, will be taxed at 19%. For British Columbia, you've got the British Columbia Clean Buildings Tax Credit. It's a new temporary tax credit which is introduced for retrofits that improve the energy efficiency of multi-unit residential buildings with four or more dwellings and prescribed types of commercial buildings. This refundable credit is equal to 5% of qualifying expenditures made before April 1st, 2025, and incurred under an agreement entered into after February 22, 2022. A new credit for BC is the BC Renters Tax Credit. It's a refundable credit that gives $400 to low and moderate income renter individuals and families with an adjusted income of 60,000 or less. If your adjusted income is between 60 and 80, you could receive a reduced amount. So all this can be claimed on your 2023 tax return. So So you can claim this tax credit if you occupy a rental unit in BC under a tenancy agreement. Rent was paid, of course, on December 31st of that tax year. You were a resident of BC and you were 19 years or older, or a parent, or cohabiting with a spouse. And finally, the Climate Action Incentive Payment is now available to residents of New Brunswick. They will begin to receive the rural supplement starting in April 2024. The April payment will include a retroactive rural supplement amount for the July 2023 to January 2024 period as well. Now, prior to 2021, the Climate Action Incentive Credit was a refundable tax credit on your tax return, but now it'll be a quarterly payment that's paid by CRA directly. So you'll receive it automatically 4 times a year. So the government of Canada will apply the federal backstop fuel charge in New Brunswick as of July 1st, 2023. Residents of New Brunswick will receive a double payment in October 23 that will cover the July and October 2023 payments and a single payment in January 2024. All right, so this was a quick summary of the 2023 tax changes. So it is mostly the FHSA now being available, and you'll be receiving tax slips. The multi-generational home renovation tax credit, if it applies to you. Gotta be careful with the property flipping, residential property flipping, and sadly, no more work from home COVID 19 credit. All right, thanks for watching.